Well, it's that time of the morning when we take a look at what's making the news on the front pages of the international newspapers, and I'm joined in the studio by the author and diversity consultant Vernal Scott. Vernal, thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's start with the Nigerian paper This Day Live, which has a headline, Probe Oil Marketers Behind Recent Supply Cuts. Oba urges Buhari. Now, this is Nigeria's new president, of course, who's been urged to set up a committee to investigate the recent cut in the supply of petroleum products. Just how damaging has this recent fuel crisis been in Nigeria? Because it's been going on for weeks. It seems to be getting slightly better now, but it seems to have been pretty bad.
Yes, and you know, without the certainty of supply, it damages confidence. You know, it's a basic necessity to know that you've got oil to make your country function. But what caught my eye with this story, though, Simon, is the call for deregulation of the industry. Now, to have such an important asset be deregularized is a dangerous move, in my view. You know, not unless there's something going over there that I don't actually understand, but it just means that in my mind, that it will be fairly ad hoc, and that people can do what they like and how they want to do it. And I think what in my view needs to happen is better management of the oil industry in the country.
Yeah, and it's very strange, isn't it, given that Nigeria is such a big producer of oil, that they've had these problems, and it's certainly, well, one of the main challenges for Buhari as he takes office. What other challenges does Nigeria face? Buhari obviously inaugurated just a few days ago now. What else has he got on his plate?
Well, I think that what he needs to do, because other than the issues to do with oil, which in my view, given the history of Nigeria, should be properly managed by now. I mean, we're 2015, but in the background you've also got Boko Haram, who haven't disappeared. So he's got to manage the economy properly. He's got to manage the potential violence. There's a lot to manage. So he needs to have a plan. I think it's wise when you get a new job, stop, take stock, come up with a plan, find out who your allies are, give people roles that move the country forward. What we shouldn't have in Nigeria is some sort of ad hoc management of the country, its assets, its economy. It needs a plan. It needs leadership that's very different, I think, from than Goodluck Jonathan. It needs to be managed in a way that gives people confidence that they've got a stake in the future and they've got a leader who knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate. Let's go to the National now, which is a paper in the UAE. The headline there, ISIL moves on Turkish border crossing. This is Islamic State fighters capturing the town of Soran Azaz and two nearby villages close to the border crossing with Syria. Just how worried will Turkey be by these developments?
Well, there's kind of a Cold War that's going on between ISIS and Turkey. But, with ISIL, we're dealing with people who have got absolutely no scruples at all. And I think that at some point, if it's not this month or next year, ISIS is going to make a move. I think they're just checking things out, getting their strategy together, but they are lethal planners and people who strategize. They know what they're doing. I think that their targets are other places for now. At some point, Turkey will be the target. So I think that the international community, in my view, need to be much more proactive than dropping bombs. ISIS is different from what we've seen before. And other than what's going on in Turkey, we're seeing children as young as 13 being executed, crucified. I mean, how abhorrent do things need to get before the international community understand that? I mean, that said, actually, in the way of what the international community has or hasn't done, part of their strategy might be, well, if ISIS gets to Assad before the rest of us, then, they're doing our job for us. But the collateral damage is unacceptable. Well, to me it's unacceptable, but clearly to the Camerons and the Obamas, it's part of a strategy that is acceptable, and I find it kind of abhorrent.
Well, let's move on now to China and the China Daily. They've got a story now, a very big smoking country, China. It's still a lot of people smoke in the country. The cigarette's very cheap there. They've got the headline, "Tough no smoking rules take effect." From today, all indoor public places and many outdoor public places in Beijing will be 100% smoke-free. China has over 300 million smokers, and over 1 million Chinese people die from smoking-related illnesses every year. So do you think this is about time these laws came in?
Sure. We've introduced similar regulations here in the UK and also in forward-thinking countries that care about the health of their people. Every time you put a cigarette in your mouth, you're effectively, causing your own death or ill health at least. So I think it's a good thing. And to have 1 million people die every year from something that's totally preventable, only a responsible government would ignore that. So I think that they're doing the right thing.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've had this as the law for about a decade. A communist country like China, which you think laws are much stricter, and they're only just introducing it now. But they've got many more people proportionally smoking in China, and there's 1.3 billion people there. How are they going to police this? That's going to be an issue, isn't it?
Well, I think that the impression I have of China, I haven't actually been there myself, is that things happen that the government want to have happen. So it will take a while for people to get used to the new regulations. But over time, especially if they understand the health benefits of quitting smoking and perhaps find other things to do, I think other than it being a regulation, the government needs to sell the health benefits, which is, makes perfect sense. So I think on the whole, it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, let's quickly move on now to the independent newspaper in the UK here, which has a picture of Bradley Cooper as Joseph Merrick in The Elephant Man, which has just opened in the Theatre Royal Haymarket, just over the road from us, and he's been getting rave reviews for his performance.
Well, The Elephant Man is a real classic. I can remember when John Hurt played the Elephant Man in the film. And it's, to have such rave reviews playing such a difficult part is down to the talent of this actor who, audiences are quite vicious when they don't like a production. It's clear that this is a hit because of the talent of Bradley, and I wish him well. I hope continued success is his.
That's all we've got time for, Vernal. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
Pleasure.